Hello everyone, so in this lecture we are going to be talking about the proxy chains. As you can see, I am using the Kali Linux as my virtual machine, so here we are gonna use this proxy chain and demonstrate how this works. So let's talk about first the proxy chain. What is this, the proxy chain? So proxy chains is a open source software that is available free and most of the Linux distributor, and it is pre-installed. As you can see, I didn't have to do anything, it is already pre-installed. So if you are using the latest version of Kali Linux, it is pre-installed in it. Proxy chain is a tool that redirects the TCP, which means the transmission control protocol, that connects with the help of proxies like Tor, HTTPS and SOCKS, and it creates a proxy chain server. When we are using the proxy chain, we can hide our IP addresses in the real world. In Kali Linux, when you are using any tools, that time source IP address is our main, and if you are using proxy chains, that time our IP will be hidden, and when you are scanning or visiting any website we give there, then our IP addresses, as there are logs, and they will be hidden and not in the real one. So proxy chain is very useful. So if you are only visiting the web page, that you can use Tor browser, but if you want to hide your whole traffic, then you have to use proxy chain. So let's talk about couple of the proxy chains features, like it supports SOCKS S5 or SOCKS 4 and HTTP connect proxy servers. So proxy chain can be mixed up with any different proxy types of list, and then proxy chain also support any kind of chaining option method like random, which takes a random proxy in the list that is stored in a configuration file that will show in the later, or chaining proxy in the exact order list, and different proxies that separated by a new line in a file. Then proxy chains can be used with servers like Squid, SendMail, etc. Proxy chain is capable to do DNS resolving through proxy. And at last, the proxy chains can handle any TCP client application like Nmap, Telnet, etc. So what is the proxy chain syntax? So as you can see, I am using Kali Linux. So instead of running a penetration tool or creating multiple requests to any target directly using our IP, we can let proxy chains cover and handle the job. Just type command proxy chains for every job. That means we enable the proxy chain service. For example, we want to scan the available host and its ports in our network using Nmap. So Nmap using proxy chains, the command should be like Nmap then 192.168.1.1/4. So this proxy chains tell our machine to run the proxy chain service. This Nmap, this will do the job like proxy chains to be covered, and this is the argument or any argument that needed by a certain job or tool. So in this case, our scan range needed to be Nmap to run this scan. So if you just type this, as you can see, it will run this Nmap, and it will take a couple of seconds. So before, as you can see, Nmap scan all of those using these IP addresses. So as you can see, there are a couple of ports are open, like there are TCP ports open, which are HTTP service and UPnP services. As you can see, all of those you can see in here. So let's now talk about how to use proxy chains. So before you are using proxy chains, we need to set up the proxy chain configuration file. We also need a list of proxy servers. So proxy chain configuration file can be located in your Kali Linux machine. So go to your root directory, then you have to go this etc directory, then alternatives, and in here you will see a lots of file, but don't get confused. You will see a proxygen file in here. So let's just search. As you can see, this is the file we need to configure. So what you have to do now is we have to open the proxygen configuration file in your desirable text editor to set up some configuration, and let's demonstrate this. I already did this, so let's just demonstrate in a slideshow. So this, so what you have to do is open a proxygen.configuration file, and then scroll down until you reach at the bottom. As you can see, I am at the bottom, and at the end you will find this proxy list, add proxy here. So by default, proxygens directly sends the traffic first through our host, which is 127.0.0, this one, on port 9050, which is the default Tor configuration. So if you are using Tor, leave it as it is. If you are not using Tor, you will need to comment out this line. Now we need to add more proxies. So there are free proxy servers on the internet. You may look on the Google for it, and you will find like many VPN services. Here I am using NordVPN, which is a free VPN service, as it has very detailed information on their website, as you can see in here. What you have to do now is you have to comment the default proxy. So what you have to do is comment the default proxy to Tor. So if you are using, or if you are not using the Tor, then you need to add the proxy on proxy chains configuration file. As you can see, this is the configuration file that we are editing, and then after doing this, we just save, and it will look like this. As you can see, it will look like this. Now what you have to do now is I have to like go in here. So you will see a lot of like dynamic chain, streak chain, or random chain. So what is dynamic chain versus random chain? So dynamic chain will enable us to run our traffic through every proxy on our list. So and even one of the proxies is down and not responding, the dead proxies are then skipped. It will automatically go to the next proxy in the list without throwing an error. Each connection will have done via the chain proxies. All proxies will be chained in the order as they appear in the list. Activate dynamic chaining allows for the greater anonymity and trouble-free active or hacking experiences. And I will always recommend to use the dynamic chain. To enable dynamic chain in the configuration file, just uncomment. As you can see, this is the uncomment. So just uncomment this dynamic chain line, and then this is the random chain. So random chaining will allow proxy chains to randomly choose IP addresses from our list, and each time we use proxy chains, the chain of proxy will look different to the target, making it harder to track our traffic from its source. To activate random chaining, comment out this random chain. The chain of the proxy will look different to the target, making it harder to track our traffic from its source. Since we can only use one of these options at a time, make certain that you comment out the other option in the section before using proxy chains. You may want to use uncomment the line, then chain underscore length, this one. This option will determine how many of the IP addresses in your chain will be used in creating a random proxy chain. So as you can see, that's pretty much easy, and now we can know how use. Now we can know and use the hacker to use the proxy chain to cover their identity. That's how they use it, and to stay anonymous without worrying about the detected by the target ideas or forensic investigators. So that's how people use proxy chains. It's very easy, so make sure you try it.